Hello! So the reason that I'm kind of late to addressing this topic is because I wasn't sure whether or not I really wanted to be joining this online debate / conversation at all. But the reason that I am uploading it is because I've realized that whether or not I want to participate, I have to, because I'm a member of the world and honestly a global citizen. I love traveling and I'm an Asian American. So this debate is really about cultural appropriation versus appreciation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically this girl who wasn't Chinese, she was white, she wore a qipao, a traditional Chinese garment, to prom this year, and she took some pictures posing like this, and she posted her photos on Twitter, and then this Chinese American guy responded and said, "My culture is not your prom dress," and it was retweeted like 40,000 plus times, and now it's been all over different news channels, and there's just been a lot of backlash against him and her for people on both sides saying whether what she did was right or wrong, and she's come out and spoken about it since then and said despite all the backlash she would still have done what she did. She didn't do anything wrong. So the first part of this is it cultural appropriation? Is what she did wrong? My opinion is no. And I think that's the common opinion in this case. Is it cultural appreciation? I also would say no. I don't necessarily think that she knows any or all history behind qipaos, and she's not wearing it because she's like, oh, I love Chinese culture, I study Mandarin, I want to make a statement. I feel like she was just wearing it because she thought it was cool, and that's totally okay, but I wouldn't categorize this as either cultural appropriation or appreciation. Now, as a fashion statement, to respond to all the people that are saying that she can't just wear it for fashion, she needs permission from Chinese people to wear it, I would say that in the world we live in, you don't need permission. Anyone can wear whatever they want. However, in this situation, even if she was asking for permission or whatever, I watched a video of a white man living in China who interviewed all these Chinese people and asked them how they felt about foreigners wearing qipaos, and all of them said that they were in support of it.
如果我们外国女人穿中国的旗袍，你觉得怎么样？
可以啊，有那种身材就好看嘛。
Pretty much everyone in China thinks that it's cool, and I think generally when you go to foreign places, like even in Vietnam, there's a similar outfit called an áo dài. If you wear that outside of Vietnam, Vietnamese people would probably be psyched. They'd be like, cool, you're wearing my culture. There's no cultural taboo about wearing a qipao in public. Waitresses wear it, salespeople wear it, prostitutes wear it. It's not like this girl was breaking any traditional Chinese rules about wearing a qipao. The history doesn't really come into today's usage of how people in China wear qipaos today. It's also not new at all for white people / Americans to be wearing qipaos in public. A lot of celebrities, including Emma Watson, which is like one of the most loved celebrities. She's not American, of course, but she wore a qipao. I believe this girl who wore it to prom was actually doing kind of a nice thing by wearing it to a formal occasion. She was basically saying that she appreciates the way that it looks enough to be able to wear it to her senior prom, which is something that people in America really take as a big deal. So the next thing is, does this apply to other types of things like kimonos and saris and áo dài? If no one knows what áo dài is, but I'm just inserting my little Vietnamese plug. So obviously it doesn't apply to anything from any culture, but generally speaking, we live in a world today of cultural exchange. With that logic, it's like saying Chinese people can only wear Western clothing when Western people give them permission, but Chinese people definitely don't care, so. When a Chinese woman marries a white dude, she'll get her white husband to wear traditional Chinese clothing. Similarly, when you go to an Indian wedding, a lot of times they'll say you can wear a sari. So in those cases, you are getting permission. But things like kimonos and stuff like that, those are really becoming integrated into mainstream fashion today. You see a lot of kimono-inspired things at H&M and Zara, and a lot of patches with dragons and cranes, and those are all things from Japan. Most cultures are honestly really happy that the whole world is noticing their fashion and their cultures, despite the history that actually inspired those things. The other argument for people who say that it's okay that white people can wear Asian clothing, etc., is that Asian people wear Western clothing. In a more extreme sense, there's a lot of people that wear cowboy boots and cowboy hats and kind of like really old Western type things, and those have a history attached to them as well, though it's not necessarily as serious as some of the other cultural significances tied to some of these Asian clothings. But in a similar way, It's kind of an issue of hypocrisy. Like, you can't be telling people that they can't wear something else and then tell a different group of people that it's okay that they can be wearing something else. If anything, this whole argument is making people more scared to appreciate other cultures or to even learn about other cultures, because now they're just like, people are just gonna yell at me no matter what I do, so why even bother? And honestly, that's really a shame, because if they appreciate the culture, then they should definitely go ahead and just wear whatever they want. It's almost like pushing segregation, like saying anyone who's not Asian can't wear or appreciate these Asian things. And that's just definitely not true. That's not the world that we're living in. I don't think that's the world that anyone wants to live in. We want to live in a world of cultural exchange where we can all appreciate the things that come from other cultures and keep learning about other cultures instead of telling people that they can't do certain things. At least with foreigners wearing chipaos, I'd give that a check, because someone already did ask them, and I'll link that video down below. So the real issue here is, do you need permission from Chinese Americans? Because that is basically the person who tweeted about it. That's basically where a lot of the backlash is coming from, is from Asian Americans, not Asians from Asia. This is a sensitive topic, so I'd say that it's kind of split between Asian Americans. So I'm an Asian American, I'll give you my opinion about it, but I'm not speaking for all Asian Americans. We all have different experiences. In my opinion, as long as you aren't doing any of the three following things, you can wear whatever you want, judging, mocking, or being hypocritical. So judging, obviously, if you are someone that trashes Asian people, Asian culture, you can't be participating in any of this globalness if you're judging these people. A lot of people took offense from this girl who wore a Chinese dress to prom because it surfaced that she redid this Vine video where she and her friend were like, Asian people suck. It's that one where when they say suck, it like coughs. It's like, suck.
Not to be racist or anything, but Asian people suck.
At least the way that I see it is that she was just having fun with her friends. It's a shame that that got online, but that's kind of her own fault. She probably posted it, but she can't be, you know, posting that stuff and then going ahead and wearing a Chinese dress to prom. Although she's taken it down. I mean, she said that she has nothing against Asian people. We don't know for sure. I don't know this girl personally, so whatever. She may be a completely racist, but for my opinion, she's okay. And of course you can evolve. Like, maybe when you were a kid you judged people, but now you're okay. If you're okay now and you appreciate different cultures, then okay, go ahead. But if you're still someone that's judging people and being like, Chinese people are the worst, you can't say that and wear a qipao. Like, you have to be open-minded if you're gonna be embracing their culture. You're not embracing their culture if you're gonna trash the things they do. Do you see how that makes sense? Next, you can't mock other cultures, or specifically you can't mock the culture in which you're trying to appreciate. For example, when people wear Native American headdresses or dress like a geisha on Halloween, that's really offensive. That's not that worse. Actually, I'd say it's like the same as painting your face blackface for Halloween. That's really offensive. I mean, you might argue that it's fun for you, but it's pretty demeaning to just be saying like, oh, if I just paint my face white and dress like this, then I'm Japanese. Do you see how that's like messed up? I personally knew a girl at my school who dressed like sushi for Halloween, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because sushi is just a food. She's not saying she's Japanese, but she posted an Instagram caption that basically said, look at my eyes. You can't dress like something that comes from a certain culture and then make fun of them. Also, that's an insult not for Japanese people, whatever, but you know, you're just getting all your cultures mixed up. Basically just saying you think all Asians are the same and they have small eyes. You can't say that. So in this category of mocking, a lot of Asian Americans were upset because they felt like she was mocking Asian Americans by wearing that dress and going like this. But she since said that it had nothing to do with the dress at all, it just had to do with this YouTuber. And honestly, there's a ton of people that, you know, do that classic pose like this when they're squatting on the ground. I really don't think there's anything wrong with that. People pose the way they want to pose. Finally, if you're being hypocritical. So this is a pretty big issue because in America, there are a lot of Chinese kids who are teased for wearing Chinese traditional clothing or for speaking Chinese or for eating Chinese food as a kid. Definitely in the town that I grew up in. But on the flip side, when a white person does it, as in eats the food, speaks the language, or, you know, wears those clothing, it's cool and trendy, but it's kind of just hypocritical because you can't go and make fun of those people and then turn around and then do it and it's cool when you do it. And this is an issue that's not only for Asian Americans, it's for all minorities living in America, is that when their ancestors came to America, they were stripped of all of their culture, basically told that they needed to be like Americans in order to fit in. They were forced to assimilate and basically just get rid of their whole culture. And now some of those same people who said that they couldn't keep their culture are turning around and using that culture for their own benefit. Definitely you can see why people would be mad. For example, a lot of black women in American society are encouraged to have straight hair or to hide their natural curly or whatever texture hair they may have. They're kind of encouraged to just have nice straight hair like Americans. But then you see a lot of white Americans wearing cornrows and braids and stuff like that, and it's like, how is that? How can you really justify that? You just told these other people that they couldn't be their natural selves, and now you're trying to like copy their culture, you know? It's kind of just doesn't make sense, and it's pretty hypocritical. The bottom line is you can't just appreciate a culture when it's convenient or benefits you. You can't tell another culture to keep their thinking out of your country and then come and borrow that culture when it is convenient for you, when it brings you personal gain. For me personally, as a child and even into my adulthood, I've had a lot of people say that Vietnamese culture is messed up or it's gross and dirty because Vietnamese people eat dogs, which there are a lot of Vietnamese people that eat dogs, but you can't tell me that stuff and then go and wear an ao dai. You can't eat my food and then go and tell me that the other foods that we eat aren't right, you know? As much as I don't think that anyone should eat dogs, I do think it's messed up, but you can't make fun of me about it and then go and wear, you know, my clothing. So anyway, that's my opinion about all of this. I hope that it was educational for some of you. I hope that it kind of spelled out some of the sides of this argument, some of the things you should be thinking about. I just think that you should not be judgmental, not mock anyone, and not be hypocritical. And if you do those things, then you pretty much can wear anything you want. And that's my stance on this argument. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!